want to start with a confession. This verse gave me trouble all week. Not because it's complicated. It's actually one of the more straightforward, tender, quiet verses in the whole book. It's because it's something almost impossible to talk about without ruining it. It's about radiance, about a glow that comes from a person who stopped needing to hold on. And the second you try to explain a glow, you kind of put it out. So let's read it slowly and see what happens. The master keeps her mind always at one with the Tao. That is what gives her her radiance. The Tao is ungraspable. How can her mind be at one with it? Because she doesn't cling to ideas. The Tao is dark and unfathomable. How can it make her radiant? Because she lets it. Since before time and space were, the Tao is. It is beyond is and is not. How do I know this is true? I look inside myself and see. The first thing that struck me is the word radiance. Not achievement, not mastery, not in the way that we usually mean it, like a black belt or the corner office or the 10,000 hours. Radiance is different. Radiance is something you notice about a person before you can explain it. You've met someone like this, I bet. They walk into a room and something in the room changes. And it's not because they're loud or impressive or trying to be noticed at all. If anything, it's the opposite. They're not trying to be anything, and somehow that's the thing that lights them up. We tend to think glow has to be earned, that you build it brick by brick out of accomplishments. Get the degree, get the title, get enough wins stacked up, and eventually you'll radiate confidence or success or whatever it is that we're chasing. But Lao Tzu is saying something almost the opposite. The master's radiance doesn't come from what she's built. It comes from what she stopped holding on to. So then the verse asks an obvious question. The question I think Lao Tzu wants us to sit with rather than just rush past. The Tao is ungraspable. How can her mind be at one with it? Because if the Tao really can't be grasped, if it slips through every net of language and logic that we throw at it, how does anyone get close to it? How do you align yourself with something you can never actually hold? And the answer is almost too simple to trust at first. Because she doesn't cling to ideas. Not because she figured out the right idea or she found the correct map of reality and memorized it. It's because she stopped needing a map at all. Think of how much of our suffering comes from clinging to an idea of who we are, an idea of how things are supposed to go, an idea of what a person owes us, or what a career should look like by a certain age, or what happiness is even supposed to feel like when it finally shows up. We build these ideas because they feel like safety. If I could just define it, name it, pin it down, then I can control it, and I won't be blindsided. But the Tao doesn't work that way, and neither does life. The moment you cling to an idea of how things should be, you built a filter between yourself and what actually is happening. You stop seeing the room that you're in, and you start seeing your theory about the room. And the master doesn't do that. Not because she's given up on thinking. She's not vacant. She's not checked out. She's just not grasping to her ideas so tightly that they become a wall between her and the thing itself. She holds her ideas the way you hold a bird. Have an open palm, loose enough that it could fly away at any second, and somehow that's exactly what lets it stay. Then the verse takes an even stranger turn. The Tao is dark and unfathomable. How can it make her radiant? That's the line I keep circling back to, because our instinct, at least mine, is to think radiance comes from light. You get bright by connecting with something bright. Clarity produces clarity. But Lao Tzu says the source of her radiance is dark, unfathomable. And the answer to how darkness produces light is just as strange as the question. Because she lets it. Not because she illuminated the darkness. It's not because she shined a light down into the depths and finally saw the bottom of the well. She let the darkness be dark. She stopped trying to fix it or solve it or explain it away or even drag it up into the light where she could feel comfortable about it. I think about this sometimes when it comes to grief or the deep questions that don't have answers. Why are we here? What happens after? Why the people we love leave too soon? There's a version of dealing with those questions that's all clenched fist, trying to force an answer out of the dark. And then there's another way, harder in some sense, but lighter in the end, where you just let the mystery be the mystery. You stop needing it to make sense. And people who can do that really do it, not just perform acceptance while quietly gripping underneath. Those people have a kind of ease around them, a stillness. Maybe that's the radiance the verse is pointing at. Then the verse takes us beyond space itself. Since before time and space were, the Tao is. It is beyond what is and is not. This is Lao Tzu reaching for the outer edge of language, and I think he knows he's failing. Before time and space, meaning this isn't a thing that started, and it isn't an event in history you could locate on a timeline. It's the ground that time and space themselves rest on. And then that strange phrase, beyond is and is not. Not existence and not non-existence either. Somehow prior to that entire distinction. Our minds want to sort everything into is or isn't, real or not real, true or false, on or off. It's one of the most basic tools we have for navigating the world, and most of the time it works fine. But every once in a while, you bump into something that this is or isn't logic just can't hold on to. Love maybe, or the strange fact that there's something rather than nothing at all, or the feeling of standing somewhere truly vast, like the ocean at night, or a mountain range, a sky full of more stars than you can count, where the categories just go quiet for a second. Lao Tzu is saying the deepest thing there is lives exactly in that quiet, before the categories, beneath all the sorting. And then the verse ends the only way it could. How do I know this is true? I look inside myself and see. That's not a citation. It's not an argument. It's not a clean logic building to some dramatic conclusion. Just, I looked and I saw. I love how quietly radical that is. Lao Tzu isn't asking you to take his word for it. He's not asking you to trust the authority of an ancient text. He's saying, don't believe me. Look for yourself. And I think that's the real invitation of this whole verse. Not to understand the Tao intellectually, but to notice the moments in your life when your mind loosens its grip and something opens up. The moments you stopped needing to have it all figured out. The moments you let the dark be the dark instead of clawing for a light switch.